What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this video, it's going to be a little bit different. Typically, I am a Jets channel, but we are going to be talking about a couple other Canadian teams, along with the Winnipeg Jets, that have been really just standing out this season and may be Canada's best chance in a long time of winning a Stanley Cup. It's been over 30 years since a Canadian team has hoisted the Stanley Cup, so it's been a while. There's been a drought, but we've got three real options this year that could legitimately do it in the Winnipeg Jets, the Vancouver Canucks, and the Edmonton Oilers. At this point in the season, I would include the Toronto Maple Leafs. However, I just don't think that they're at that level. They're just not at the same level as, the Canucks, the Oilers, and the Jets this season. I don't think they have much of a shot going far in the playoffs. Personally, if you feel differently, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. But without further ado, let's get on into this one. Let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks first. The Canucks are one of those teams that just started right from jump and really haven't looked back. They've been consistent all season long, not really having a blip anywhere. They haven't really had too many big injuries to their lineup, and going 33-11-5 with 71 points, leading the Pacific Division. That is unbelievable. I don't know who saw that coming. I certainly didn't, but 71 points is tied for top of the league right now with the Boston Bruins. So the Vancouver Canucks, number one in the NHL. Who saw that coming? Certainly not me. Very impressive so far. If you're wondering how the Canucks are doing this, look no further than their leading scorers. This has been an insane year for guys like JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, and Brock Boeser. I want to talk about Brock Boeser really quick. This was a guy that was available, presumably for a second round pick as of, a season ago. And the guy has 30 goals a season. Nobody thought that finishing touch was coming back. Always been a big Brock Boeser guy. I'm so happy he's found his game. 49 games played, 30 goals and 52 points. Career year season for Brock Boeser incoming. He looks real good. And, that's not even talking about Miller, Pettersson, and Hughes. JT Miller leading this team with 67 points is crazy. Elias Pettersson looks like a dog this season, and Quinn Hughes is legitimately one of the best defensemen in the NHL. Another one of my favorite players, one of my favorite defensemen rather. And, just seeing where they've gone from just a season ago, from being one of the more embarrassing teams in the league, one of the more, confusing teams, not really sure what direction they're going. Everything seems to be a storyline. Players are unhappy, and now you look at it and they're the best team in the NHL. Like, who saw that coming, right? So hats off to the Vancouver Canucks for turning it around. I really like the team that they have. I think they need to add a couple more depth pieces. It's rumored that Kuzmenko is going to be kind of on his way out, as he has been not at his best this season, not at the level that he was, maybe a season ago. Just 8 goals, 21 points, not bad, but you probably want to add another top 6 forward to that group that I had mentioned earlier. The big guns, Miller, Pettersson, Boeser. You probably want to add one or two more guys to that to that group to try to make that real push for a Stanley Cup. But I really like their forward core, and their defense core is very solid too. And that's without talking about Thatcher Demko, one of the best goaltenders in the league this year. Probably would win a Vezina if Connor Hellebuyck didn't exist this year. 35 games played, 26 wins, 5 shutouts, with a 2.44 goals against average and a 9.20 save percentage. The guy has been dynamite this year. Big bounce back from just a season ago where, he had kind of a step back, wasn't playing that great. But Demko this year has definitely looked like a Vezina caliber goaltender. So when you put that all together, high scoring forward core, defense core that's very solid, very fun, headlined by Quinn Hughes, and then you have this guy, Thatcher Demko, it's pretty impressive. Canucks have a real great team, and I think they could legitimately hold the Stanley Cup over their head with a couple of additions at the trade deadline. Moving on here, we're going to be talking about the Edmonton Oilers, who did start pretty slow this season, were, kind of at the basement of the league, weren't really sure what was going to happen with them, but they have kind of found a goaltender in Stuart Skinner. He's been pretty good, and the entire team really has kind of come to life. A little bit late start for the Oilers, but they look like one of the better teams in the NHL. Just like the Vancouver Canucks, they are in the Pacific Division, but they've been climbing the standings as they are on a 16 game win streak and now have 59 points in third in the Pacific, climbing their way up 5 games in hand on Vegas and 4 games in hand on the Canucks. They've got a little ways to go on fighting the Canucks, right, on, matching them. It's going to be a battle to the end, I think. I think they definitely have a chance, as, we're just a little bit past the midseason points, still lots of hockey to go, but they've definitely leapfrogged the Kings and kind of put themselves in a position where it's hard to see them not being top 2 in the division at worst. I mean, I don't know about Vegas this season. They've been up and down, taking a little bit of a step back maybe from last season, but, never count out the Vegas Golden Knights. So how are the Oilers doing this? Well, look no further than their top guys, right? That's going to be kind of the theme for Vancouver and Edmonton. They have a few real powerhouse players. Obviously, we know Connor McDavid, probably number 2, number 3 in the Hart Trophy race right now. Leon Draisaitl obviously having a big year, as he always does. Zach Hyman, though, is a real surprise. 44 games played, and he's got 30 goals and 47 points. That is a huge boost for Edmonton. He leads the team in goals. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. I don't really think of Zach Hyman as, a goal scorer or anything like that. I think of him as more of a two-way player that can put the puck in the back of the net for sure, but not like that. The guy is having a year, so good for him. And then, there's great depth along this lineup here in the forward core, like Evander Kane, Ryan McLeod, and on defense, Evan Bouchard has taken a big step this season. Obviously, Darnell Nurse is there, Matthias Ekholm, they've got a real solid defense core this year, especially with Bouchard stepping up. The big problem with them at the beginning of the year was their goaltending. They could not keep the puck out of the back of the net. Jack Campbell, sent down to Bakersfield, and miserable start to the year for him. He had a 4.5 goals against average with a .873 save percentage. He was not doing too hot with the Edmonton Oilers at the time of making this video. He is still with Bakersfield, not on the roster. So Stuart Skinner has stepped up. He has been the guy for the Edmonton Oilers, putting up pretty good numbers. I do wonder how successful he is going to be come playoff time, once everybody's a good player. A lot of the wins on Edmonton's schedule have been against weaker teams, I will say that, but 16 wins is no fluke, right? That's hard to do. That doesn't happen all the time, ever, really. It's very rare. So Stuart Skinner, is he the guy? I'm not sure, but he can definitely prove it. He's got the shot to do it right now. I don't think a lot of reinforcements are coming the Oilers' way in terms of, a trade or anything like that. I know they've signed Corey Perry, and, that's probably going to be a fourth line addition for them, and that's probably going to be it. They don't have the cap space. I don't think they really have the assets to do much either. It would have to be cap in, cap out kind of thing, as they are cap strapped. So we'll see what the Edmonton Oilers do with the trade deadline, but I think this is probably the team that you're going to be seeing in the playoffs. And is it enough? We'll have to see. I think that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl should never be counted out. They are world-class players, and we'll have to see how they fare come playoff time. And the last team that we're going to be talking about here is the Winnipeg Jets, who, just like the Oilers, just like the Vancouver Canucks, have been a surprise this season. It's been a war all year long in the Central Division, as the Jets hit third in the Central with 65 points, just 2 points behind first, with 2 games in hand on the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. Just like the Vancouver Canucks last year, the Jets were in the headlines pretty much every day. People saying that, this team sucks, we need to blow it up. Myself included. I thought, we would be better suited for a rebuild here. But, re-signing Connor Hellebuck, Mark Scheifele, bringing in Gabe Vilardi, getting rid of Pierre-Luc Dubois, this team almost feels refreshed. And, you can see it on the ice. They're buying in. They look great. I'm just really impressed with how this team's been playing this year. Totally night and day from, the teams we've seen in the past. Now, one thing unique with the Winnipeg Jets opposed to, the Oilers and the Canucks is that there's really nobody on the roster that's blowing your socks off, statistically anyway. You've got Mark Scheifele as a point-a-game player there, 41 games played, 41 points. But there's nobody, in the race for, the Hart or anything like that, as a skater anyway. We'll talk about Connor Hellebuck later. But there's nobody, blowing these stats away. And the Jets are a team that need to find some scoring at the trade deadline. And, we'll talk about all that in a second. But this is the number 1 defensive team in the NHL. The Jets only have 109 goals against this season. The next best behind them is actually the Edmonton Oilers with 124 goals against, and they've played 2 less games than the Jets, so this is pretty impressive. The Jets historically have been an awful defensive team for the last, 3-4 years, so seeing them, totally 180 it and put them in a position where they're the best team defensively in the NHL is pretty crazy. I did not see that coming at all, but it's been a big part of their success. And, they don't have to score 5 goals every night. They can keep it close, and that's going to be big around playoff time. You're not going to be scoring, 5, 6, 7 goals a game in the playoffs. Playoffs are tough. Playoffs are rugged. And I think if the Jets add a little bit more scoring, it'd be nice, and I think that's going to happen. But just being a really great defensive team bodes well in the playoffs. This is a team that had a 34-game streak, 34 straight games, allowing 3 goals or less. They just don't really allow a lot of high danger chances on net, and it's been making Connor Hellebuyck's days and Laurent Brossoit's days a lot easier. I mean, Hellebuyck doesn't have to play like 70 games a year for the Jets to squeak into the playoffs anymore, as you know, he's not facing 50 shots on goal a night and having to make 10 highlight saves per game. It does make a difference big time, and he looks well rested. He doesn't look tired or fatigued. I'm really impressed with the Jets goaltending and the whole team structure this season. And if you take a look at Connor Hellebuyck, he's legitimately probably a Hart candidate. He's not going to win, obviously. Goaltenders don't really win the Hart trophy or anything. I know Carey Price did it in the bubble, but that was, an unworldly year for him. But it would shock me if Hellebuyck doesn't at least get some votes for the Hart, as this year he has 23 wins through 35 games, 2 shutouts, and the big part here, 2.2 goals against average with a .924 save percentage. That is unbelievable, even for Connor Hellebuyck standards. We know what to expect from this guy. He's, the big fish, one of the best goaltenders in the league, probably the most consistent goaltender in the league, the last 5 years or so. And this year, now that he has like a capable backup whose name isn't Dave Riddick, and you've got a team in front of you that is just really solid defensively, not allowing a slot chance, every 30 seconds. So really impressed with the Jets D, and really happy for the success that Connor Hellebuyck is having this season. Injuries have been a problem for Winnipeg this year, as Velarde right at the beginning of the year was out for quite a while, missed a big chunk of the season, was expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks at the time, missed about 6 I believe. Right after that, as soon as he came back healthy, Kyle Connor went down and he was out for I believe it was 5 weeks, and now Kyle Connor came back and they finally had all those guys back in the lineup, and then a game later Mark Scheifele got hurt. So not that awesome, on the injury front, but it does seem like after the All-Star break, everybody will be healthy forward-wise for Winnipeg, so hopefully they can go on a run. But definitely a number 2 centerman and probably a top 4 defenseman, I would imagine, are on the docket for Winnipeg. We'll see what they do at the trade deadline, but I expect them to swing big. But that is going to end the video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments down below. What do you think about these 3 Canadian teams? Who do you think has the best chance of winning a Stanley Cup out of them? And will this be the year that Canada is, returning to the Stanley Cup Finals, bringing back a Stanley Cup? Will this be the year? I want to hear from you guys. But with that said, I'm going to hop on out of here. Thank you so much for watching again. And as always, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm out of here. Go Jets go. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.